In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how you can edit like Magnates Media's new editing style. And specifically, I'm going to be showing you guys how I recreated this clip from one of his recent YouTube videos in Adobe After Effects.
His first customer was his grandmother Francisca, who bought a matchbox for 3 cents.
Also, just a quick mention, if you are a beginner or intermediate video editor looking to level up and edit like a professional as soon as possible, then I would highly recommend that you check out my video editing product Skillcut through the top link in the description below. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new composition. I'm just going to name mine New Magnates Media Tutorial. Then I'm going to be importing the assets which I'm going to be using today. You can find a link to them in the description below. Then I'm going to start off by trying to create my background. So I'm going to create a new solid. And I'm going to search up in the effects and presets gradient ramp, and I'm going to add this onto that solid. I'm going to swap colors, and now I'm going to adjust the positioning, and then it's roughly where I want it to be. And these are the settings which I've used, and I'm going to change the color, and then it's more of a like light blue color, a bit like this, like really light blue, almost gray. And then I'm going to change the bottom color to a dark blue, like a dark navy blue like this, as you can see. It looks really off and it doesn't look anything like the original video, but you'll see what we're going to do with it in a second to make it look like the original video. I'm going to change the ramp scatter to the max, which is 512, and this means the colors will blend together better. And I will then import this moving dots overlay. And later on in the video, it goes so, and then the background is white with black dots. So I'm going to make it so, and then it starts here. And then I'm just going to trim it and adjust it so, and then it starts. And actually I'm going to make it so it starts a bit forward because that's when the particles come in more. I'm then going to scale it so it fits the rest of the composition, and I'm going to change the opacity to 6%, and I'm going to change the mode to overlay. And you can see what that looks like here. Then I'm going to import this wood texture that I found on FreePick, and I'm just going to scale it out and then rotate it so, and then the lines are going from the top to the bottom like so. And then I'm just going to scale it in again, so, and then it fits the rest of the composition. And I'm going to adjust the opacity of this to 4%. Now I'm just going to mask the background, and I'm going to try and create that like almost oval, like circular shape. So if you go back to the original video, you'll see that like almost it transitions from the woody light texture to the dark blue texture. And like, it's not just like a line that separates them, it's almost like this curved line instead. And I'm going to try to create that by going up to the shape tool, and I'll keep pressing Q until I've got the ellipsis tool, and then I'm just going to drag the ellipsis tool like so, and then it creates this like oval shape. Then I'm just going to center it. And also when you're doing this, make sure to highlight, like when you're actually getting the shape and drawing the shape, make sure you're highlighting the wood texture, and then this means it will create a mask of the wood texture, and you won't just create, you know, the actual shape as a separate layer. So yeah, just make sure you're highlighting the wood texture when you actually create the oval. And I'm also just going to adjust the size of the oval, so and then it's not really an oval and it's a bit more like curved at the bottom. Then I'm going to open up this, I'm going to go to masks, mask 1, and then I'm going to increase the mask feather a bit, and this will make it so, and then it's not so much of an obvious line. And that's given that very rough like oval shape, and now I'm pretty happy with that. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start on like the circle with the coin and like the actual thing inside, like over the background. So I'm going to get the shape tool, and I'm going to get the ellipsis tool specifically, and I'm going to draw a perfect circle by holding shift and then dragging. I'm going to change the color to this orange color, and I'll turn off the stroke. I'm going to center this one, and then I'm going to create a new adjustment layer, and I'm going to search up in the effects and presets transform, and I'm going to add this onto that adjustment layer. And what I'm basically going to do now is there's definitely a better way of doing this, and this is when you do this at the start and then you zoom in, but I forgot to do it. So basically what we need is, because the actual shape is going to zoom out, we're going to need like more background, so and then when we zoom out, it doesn't just, so and then there isn't just this, you know, empty space on each side. We want it so, and then the background is like larger than the actual screen, so and then when we zoom out, we can see more of that background and we don't hit the edge of the screen. So what I'm going to do to do that is I'm just going to add transform effect, and then I'm going to zoom out with the transform effect, and as you can see now, we've like reached the end, and there's this massive amount of like nothingness on each side. Now we just need to scale out like the background, so and then it's bigger. And I'm going to do this by searching up motion tile in the effects and presets, and I'm going to drag this onto the wood texture. I'm going to increase the output height to around 300, 400. So we've extended that, but we need to extend everything else as well. So then I'm just going to scale up the gray solid, and then I'm also going to scale up the particles overlay as well. Now we've done that, I can just scale back in the transform effect to roughly 100 again. And I'm also going to get the ellipsis tool again, and I'm just going to create a smaller, like perfect circle again. I'm going to center that. I'm going to turn off the stroke. Now I'm going to turn off the fill color, and I'm going to increase the stroke, and it will be white. And I'll increase the stroke to around this size. And then I'm going to import my coin picture. So it's not the same coin he used, but as this video is not to show you how to source assets like him. This video is to show you how to like roughly edit like him. So there's going to be a lot of things in this video which aren't going to be the same. So the assets won't be the same, or like the background won't look perfect. There'll be tiny little things, or there might even be quite big things, like this coin is completely different and stuff. It just doesn't really matter, because I guess the thing I'm trying to show is how to actually do the animations, the actual editing, the actual motion graphics, and not just how to source assets or how to change tiny little things to, you know, make it completely perfect, because all this video will be like double the length it is now. So yeah. So yeah, we don't really need to change the position of the coin. It's already pretty perfect. But then I'm just going to scale up the smaller like stroke line, and then I'm going to center it again. And it's roughly like, it should be like almost as big as the orange line though. Then for this like second line, I'm going to go to contents, ellipsis 1, stroke 1, and then I'm going to double click on the dashes. I'm going to change the dash to 68, and then the gap to 60, like, so basically like 70 and 60 essentially. And as you can see, now we have this like dashed line. Actually, I'm going to decrease the size of the stroke of the line to around 10 pixels. Then I'm going to search up in the effects and presets tint. I'm going to add that onto the coin, and I'm going to change it to this like yellowy green color, like so. And I'm going to search up brightness and contrast. I'll add that onto the coin as well, and I'll just change it to -20. And now the coin looks like more similar to the original videos. Now I'm actually going to animate the second line, so and then it spins. But there will be like a caveat to this. It's not as simple as just like rotating it. You'll see why in a sec. So I'm going to keyframe the rotation at the start, and then I'm going to go forward by quite a bit. And then if you notice, what I'm going to do is if I change the rotation, the whole thing, it doesn't spin perfectly. It spins in some weird angle. So the way I'm going to fix this is I'm going to go to around 1 second, and I'm just going to change this position keyframe so it's around so it is exactly 1 second in, and then we're just going to make the rotation so and then it's just like 1x, so then it's done a whole 360-degree rotation. And if I play that back, as you can see, it spins like this. And the way I can fix this now, it is a weird way, and there's definitely a better way of doing this, but like this is the way I did it, and it doesn't take very long either. So I'm going to go to the start, and then I'm going to go forward. I'm going to keyframe the position at the start actually, and then I'm going to go forward by 1 frame, and then I'm going to center like the circle like so with these 2 buttons here, and then I'm just going to go forward by 1 frame, center again. I'm going to just keep going forward by 1 frame each time, and then I'm going to keep centering it. And it's just, as you can see, it looks like quite a long process, but it doesn't take that long. It takes like around a minute or so, maybe that. And if I play this back, like it will actually spin perfectly. But what I'm going to do is, problem is, it's only 1 second long. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy all of these keyframes, and I'll paste them again. So, and then it's double the length now, but it's still only like 2 seconds long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to time stretch, and I'm going to change the stretch factor to around 5,000, because when I play it back, it spins really fast, and we don't want that. We want it to spin like slow, like, well, we want it to spin like it did in the original video. So also slowing it down will allow the video to take ages. So, and then it keeps spinning and spinning and spinning for ages. But also, it also means that it will slow down to the length of the original videos. And the 5,000, I just had to play around with it until it was roughly the same speed. But yeah, as you can see now, if I play this back, it will spin like the same speed as in the original video, and it will just keep spinning for ages. Then I'm going to import like this Matchbox picture I found. I really couldn't find the one he used. Like, I found the brand, but I couldn't find a good picture of it. I don't know where he got the picture from. So I just used like another vintage like Matchbox. I'm just going to scale it down and position it around here. And I'm also just going to make it vertically a bit taller. And when I'm happy with the positioning and the size of it, I'm just going to search up in the effects and presets, brightness and contrast. And I'm going to add that onto this Matchbox. I'm going to change the brightness to -96. And now I'm just going to duplicate it, and I'm going to add the second one on the other side in the same position, but just on the opposite side of the circle. Then I'm going to make another one, but I'm going to make it so, and then this one's at the top part like this, and then I'll duplicate again and make another one here as well. So now there's 4. Then I'm going to create a new adjustment layer, and I'll add this adjustment layer at the top of above everything else. I'm going to rename it so I don't get confused to zoom out. And then I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to rename this new duplicated one to glitch. And then I'm going to search up in the effects and presets turbulent displace, and I'll add this onto the glitch one. I'm going to change the amount to 30 and the size to 3. Then I'm going to open up the evolution options. I'll alt click the random seed stopwatch, and I'm going to type up in the text box random bracket 4 closing bracket. And then we're going to go all the way to the start, and I'm going to press enter to create another line. And on the top line, I'm going to type up posterize time and then bracket 4 and then closing bracket. Then I'm going to duplicate this effect. And for the new duplicated one, I'm going to change the amount to 10 and the size to 10 as well. And if we play this back, as you can see now, there is this glitching effect like it was in the original video. Then I'm going to search up in the effects and presets vignette, and I'll add this onto this glitch one as well. And I'm just going to change the amount to 164. And as you can see now, it's quite a bit darker like it was in the original video. Now I'm going to create a quite small wood overlay like there was in the original video as well. It's not going to be the same as his because it's just a completely different overlay texture. But yeah, the wood one was the best one I could find really. And I'm just going to add this one below the adjustment layers. And I'm going to rotate it to minus or positive 90. I'm just going to change the scale so it matches the composition. And I'm going to change the mode to linear light. And as you can see, it really creates that wood texture, but it is really orange. So to fix that, we're just going to search up in the effects and presets black and white. And we're going to add that onto this overlay. I'm just going to rename it to wood overlay so we don't get confused. And I'm going to change the opacity of it to 8%. And as you can see now, there is a rough wood texture. But I've also just realized that the background, the particles background we added earlier, it's moving way too fast, and it's not how it was in the original video. And I don't want to just slow it down because then it looks a bit off. So I'm just going to add the posterized time effect onto it, onto the moving dots overlay, and I'm going to change the frame rate to 8. And as you can see now, it's moving a lot more glitchy, I guess. Now I'm actually going to create the same transition that there was in the start of the video, even though he was already transitioning from something else, another clip. I'm just going to make it already, I'm going to make it half the transition, so it's just going to start when the video is already in there. So I'm going to add half a transition. So, and the easiest way to do this and get the exact one he used, because I'm pretty sure he used an Animation Composer 3 to do this, and I have that as well. It's just a free extension by Mr. Horse. I'm not affiliated with the company at all. It's just, yeah, it's really good, useful for adding pre-made transitions and stuff. So I'm going to open up Animation Composer 3. I'm going to open up Starter Pre-Comps, Transitions, and I'm going to add Simple Distorted Zoom Out. I'm just going to make it so and then it's above all the other layers. And I'm just going to adjust it so and then the cut starts I'm going to extend it a bit actually, and then make it the cut start at the start of the video. So then it's like this. And if you've done it right, the first frame should be really distorted like that. And then when I play it back, as you can see, it zooms out very similar to the way it did in the original video. But then I'm also going to add another adjustment layer, and I'm going to rename this one to Zoom Out 2. And basically what I'm going to do is, I've noticed in the original video that there is more of a zoom out than just this transition, and it kind of continuously zooms out at quite a steady rate for a couple more seconds. So to create this, I'm going to then search up in the effects and presets transform, and I'm going to add this onto Zoom Out 2. I'm going to go forward by around 3 frames, and I'm going to keyframe the scale. Then I'm going to go back to the start, and I'm just going to increase the scale to 110. Then I'm going to highlight the keyframes, press F9. I'm going to go into the graph editor, and then I'm going to create this with the graph. So there is a steep peak at the start. Actually, I'm going to make it a bit less steep. Now it should have a bit more of a subtle zoom out as well. And actually, I'm going to make the first keyframe come in just a bit further in time. Now I'm happy with that. I'm just going to create those lines, the ones which have the arrows pointing to 100 matchboxes and that those text. So to do that, I'm going to get the pen tool at the top here, and I'm going to create a shape roughly the same shape as the one in the original video. So like this. I'm going to turn off the fill, and I'm going to make the stroke white. And when I'm happy with it, I'm then going to create another shape layer, but it's going to be again the arrow this time. And now I'm happy with that, I'm going to create the second one. So then this one's a lot harder of a shape to create. So I'm just going to play around with it until I get roughly what I want. But yeah, it's going to be this curved line, and then it's going to be another bendy line going upwards. but this one looks a bit off, so I'm just going to adjust it. It's going to take a lot of adjusting. Also, I've realized I've made it way too far to the right, so I'm just going to keep adjusting it until it's how I want it to be. Then when I'm happy with that, I'm also going to create the arrow for this one as well. So it's going to be like this. I'm going to like change the transition, so and then it's actually at the top of the layers, so and then it applies to everything as well. And I'm also going to move the zoom out and glitch transition, so and then it's below that one as well, but I'll leave the zoom out too where it is. And I'm just going to move the like first 2 arrows, so and then they start where I want them to start, which is around 1 second in. And for the line of the arrow, not the arrow itself, but for the actual line, I'm going to go, like, I'm going to open up the arrow and I'm going to go to add, and I'm going to add trim paths, or open up trim paths. I'll keyframe the end at 0% at the start. Then I'm going to go forward by around a second and I'll make it 100%. I'll highlight the 2 keyframes which have been made for me. I'll press F9, then I'll go into the graph editor and I'll make a steep peak in the middle with the graph like so. And as you can see, there's like this like movement. It looks quite smooth. And actually I will move the zoom out to below the rest of the adjustment layers as well. And I'm also just going to copy these 2 trim path keyframes and I'll paste them onto the arrow as well. So as you can see now, both of them come in like so, like they're being drawn. Then I'm going to go to the point where I want the next arrow to come in, and I'm just going to move the 2 layers for that one. So then it starts around 3 seconds in. And I'm also just going to paste the same like trim path keyframes onto these 2 as well. Then I'm going to search up the effects and presets below. I'll add that onto one of them. Then I'm going to increase the radius to like 55 maybe 70. And I'll change the intensity to like 0.8. It's like a subtle glow basically. And then I'm going to copy that and I'll paste that onto all of the arrow layers as well, like all 4 of them. Then I'm going to type up in the text, I'm going to type up 100 matchboxes and I'm just going to adjust the position of it. So then it's a lot smaller and I'll make the fill color white. Yeah, and I'm using the Nacelle semi-bold font as well. Actually, I'm going to use the Nacelle regular font because it is a bit thinner. And actually, I've just realized that like in the original video, the arrow was like being drawn the other way, in the sense that like the actual like head of the arrow, I guess, the upside down, like the triangle thing, like that was being drawn the other way. And that's because I drew it from left to right. And basically it's supposed to be coming from right to left. So I'm going to redo that. So I'm just going to make it so, and then there's another arrow, the same size pretty much, but it's just coming from right to left like so. And I'll make sure that's below the adjustment layers as well. And I'm going to make the arrow on the right, like the bit on the right, just a bit shorter like it was in the original video as well. And I'm also going to add the glow effect onto this as well. I'm going to make the text start when I want it to start. I'll then apply the trim paths effect, the same one, onto this one as well. And then it will come in like it did in the original video. And I'm going to search up in the effects and presets typewriter. I'll add that onto this. And then I'm just going to adjust the keyframes. So, and then it takes like, I don't know, around a second to come in, like so. And I'm then going to copy this text and I'm going to move it so, and then it's up here as well. So there's 2 of them, but I'll change the text and it says 88 Swedish cents like in the original video. And I'm also just going to adjust the typewriter so, and then it takes a bit longer to transition in as well. Now I'm actually going to create the RGB kind of glitch look that the arrow and the text had. And the way I'm going to do this, you can use other like methods, but this is just the most like simple one, I guess, which you don't need any plugins for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-compose like the first like left line, not the arrow of the line, but just the line itself. Then I'm going to search up in the effects and presets shift channels, and I'll add that onto this left line composition. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so, and then the take red from stays to red, and then the green from and blue from is now changed to fall off. And if you've done this right, the actual line should be red. Then I'm going to duplicate this composition, and then I'm just going to change it so, and then now the red is full off and the green from is full on. So then now it should be green, and then it's duplicate it again and make it so now the take blue from is full on. So now there's 3 different colors. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all 3 of them, and I'll change the mode to screen, and now it should be back to white. But now when we actually move the position of each one, we can create that like glitchy RGB look. So I'm just going to very subtly adjust the bottom left line. So there's 3 of them. The bottom one I'm going to adjust. So then it's, instead of 960, it's 959. And instead of 540, it's 539. I shall change it to 958. And as you can see now, there's this very subtle RGB glitch effect like there was in the original video. And now I'm just going to do that for all of them. So I'm going to add that onto the arrowhead, and I'm going to add that onto the left, like the right line and the right arrow as well. I'm just going to do that also for the text as well. So I'm going to pre-compose the text. I'm going to add the shift channels, And I'm going to do the same thing for the texts as well, both of them. And also you may need to change the position by more depending on the shape. So for example, I'm going to change the position more for the match, like the text. I think I changed the line more than I changed the arrowhead, and I changed the text more than I changed both of them. And if you've done that right now, every single one of the like lines and text should have this RGB light to it. And then I'm going to search up in the effects and presets transform, and I'm going to add this transform effect onto zoom out. And then I'm just going to zoom out with the transform effect to around like 60%. And I'm now just going to make sure that the like the wood overlay is covering the whole screen, because right now it's only covering the old part of the screen. So I'm going to search up in the effects and presets motion tile, and I'm going to add that onto the wood overlay. I'm then going to increase the output height, and then it basically, or output width, until it basically, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to just scale up the wood overlay, because it was looking a bit too small right now, like it zoomed out too much. So I'm just going to scale in the actual wood overlay instead of using the motion tile. I'll just change the scale back to 100 for now. And then I'm going to go to the point where I want the actual zoom out to start around like 5 seconds in. And I'm just going to keyframe the scale on the like on the transform effect. Then I'm going to go forward by around 2.5 seconds, and I'm just going to scale it out and like change the scale to around I would say 60%, maybe 70%. And now it should like gradually zoom out. But I'm also going to go to the first scale keyframe, and I'll just keyframe the position as well. And I'll go to the last scale keyframe, but I won't keyframe it. I'll just basically move it down. But the problem is that we've run out of screen as well, because we've zoomed out too far. So like what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add the motion tile effect onto the dark gray solid. I'll just increase the output height. And I'm also going to scale up the particles. I just realized I'll just scale up the dark gray solid, so then that matches the rest of the screen as well. So then now we have like the background is covering the whole screen again. Now I'm going to press U on the zoom out layer, and we'll have these 4 keyframes, and I'm going to highlight them. I'll press F9 and I'll go into the graph editor. Then I'll highlight everything like this, and then I'll just move both of the layers together to form a steep peak in the middle. Then I'll just space out the 2 keyframes, so then it takes longer to zoom out as well. I'll space them out loads because that is nowhere near enough. Then I'm going to import this like picture of this grandma. This is nothing like the one he used, but I couldn't find the one he used. So I'm just going to scale the lady up and place her like on the screen. And as you can see, because I've positioned this below the adjustment layers, as we zoom out, so will her, she will as well. And then around 6 seconds in, I'm going to keyframe the position of her. And then I'm going to go forward by around like a second. And then I'm just going to add another position keyframe. Then I'll go back to the original position keyframe, and I'll just move her down so then she starts off screen. And actually I'm going to keyframe the scale at the same point as the first position keyframe, and I'll add another scale keyframe at the second one, and I'll go back to the first one, and I'm actually just going to scale her up, because then if you look at the original video, it kind of had this like, it was started off bigger, then zoomed out. Then I'm going to highlight these 4 keyframes. I'll go back into the graph editor to just create like a steep peak nearer to the start though this time, and we'll just see what that looks like. Actually, I'll just scale it down a bit, make it just a bit smaller. And as you can see now, it zooms out and it has the same kind of like perspective zoom as in the original video. I will just adjust things a bit as well to make it a bit more similar though. Now I'm going to have the actual matchbox, like the same matchbox as earlier, pop up onto the screen like it did in the original video. So I'm going to import this, and I'm just going to also make the layer 3D. And I'm going to adjust the X rotation, so and it's like -13, so and then it's like a slight angle like so. And I'm also just going to scale it and position it where I want it to be. Then I'm also going to like import this tag icon thing I found on FreePic, and I'm just going to rotate it like 180 degrees so it's on the other side. And I'm just going to scale it down and position it where I want it to be as well. Then I'm going to search up fill, and I'm going to add this onto the tag. I'm going to get the pen tool or the like color changer tool, and I'm just going to make it the same color as the circle behind it, but I'll make it brighter this time. Then I'm going to type up 3 cents with the text tool, and I'm going to rotate it so then it's roughly the same like rotation as the like the tag, and I'm going to place it over the tag as well. Then I'm going to change the font actually in the cell semi-bold, because so then it's a bit thicker like it was in the original video, and I'll change the fill color to black as well. Then I'm going to search up glow in the effects and presets, and I'll add that onto the 3 cents as well, and I'll just increase the glow width, or the glow spread, I guess. And I'm also going to add this glow effect onto the price tag as well. I'll increase the glow radius, but then I'll decrease the glow intensity a lot as well, so then it's just subtle. But actually I'll change the glow intensity to around 0.4. I'm then going to get the ellipsis tool again, and I'm just going to make a perfect circle, but I'll just make it like very small. It will have no fill color, and it will be a stroke. And I'm just going to position it so, and then it's like over the hole in the tag. Then I'm going to go to layer, then mask, and then new mask, and then I'm just going to adjust the mask. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up masks, and I'm just going to click inverted, so, and then now it's like this. And then I'm just going to play around with the position of the mask, so, and then it should be here, like getting rid of the corner, and the corner of the mask should line up with the corner of the matchbox. But I'm also going to add the glow effect onto this like ring as well. And I'm also going to highlight the top 3 layers, so the like the tag, the 3 cents, and the circle, and I'm just going to pick whip it to the bat, or the matchbox. And this means when we move the matchbox, everything will move together. So now I'm going to keyframe the position of the matchbox around 9 seconds in, and I'm going to go to around 9-10 seconds. I'll add another position keyframe, then I'll go back to the original one, and then I'll make it so that it starts off screen so you can't see even the tag. Then I'm going to highlight these 2 keyframes, I'll press F9, and then I'll create a steep peak at the start with the graph like so. So then it will now transition up quite smoothly like this. Then I'm just going to cut it so the layers start when I want it to start, which is where the first keyframe is, and I'm just going to move it just a bit more forward in time as well. Then I'm going to copy the brightness and contrast from the like smaller bats which were connected to the circle, and I'm just going to apply it onto this bigger bat, like onto this bigger matchbox. Now I'm actually going to make this matchbox wiggle like it did in the original video as well. So I'm just going to open up the position, and I'm going to alt click on the position stopwatch, and I'm going to type up in this text box wiggle bracket 2, 3 closing bracket, and then now it's going to like have a wiggle as well like this. And the thing is though, is in the original video the actual like tag was wiggling as well, but I know how they've done it. It just involves a lot of like keyframing, and it would take quite a while, and as I said, this video is getting quite long, so I'm just going to completely avoid that part, and I'll just make the matchbox wiggle. But if you want to do it, basically what you do is you just change if you look at the original video, basically it has this like kind of wiggling in the wind kind of effect. If you want to do that, you basically just adjust the position and rotation, mainly the rotation, so, and then you just keyframe it every time, so, and then it basically like wiggles around, which is quite simple. It just takes quite a while sometimes, and it involves quite a lot of like messing around with it, so I don't really have the time for that right now in this video, so I'm just going to leave it like that for now. But now I actually have to make, if you go back to the original video, if you also see that like the circle, like no, not the circle, and also if you go back to the original video, you also see that as the like lady pops up, the arrows and the text like fade out. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to find all of the arrows and the text layer, so all of the compositions basically we made, and I'm going to keyframe the opacity around 6 seconds in, or when the lady comes up. Then I'm going to go forward by around a second or so, and I'll make the opacity 0% on all of these layers. So as you can see now, they fade out. But I'm just going to like highlight all of these, and I'm just going to make it so, and then they start a bit forward in time. And now once I've done that, this is the finished edit. And just a quick reminder about Skillcut: if you are a beginner or intermediate video editor looking to level up and edit like a professional as soon as possible, then I would highly recommend that you check out Skillcut through the top link in the description below.